Most people think money changes your life gradually, that every extra dollar simply makes things a little easier. But there's a specific point where something very different happens, and it's not when you're rich. It's not six figures. It's not financial freedom. It's much earlier than that. Around $20,000, something quietly shifts, and most people don't realize it until they've either crossed it or missed it entirely. Because what changes at that point isn't your lifestyle. It's your psychology. Up until then, money feels reactive. You earn it, you lose it, you wait for it, you worry about it. Every unexpected expense feels like a threat. Every bill feels personal, and every decision is made with a sense of urgency. But once you reach that threshold, money stops being something that happens to you and starts becoming something you can actually use. That difference is subtle, but it affects almost every decision you make afterward. Before $20,000, most financial choices are defensive. You're not asking what's optimal, you're asking what's survivable. Can I afford this right now? What happens if something goes wrong next month? Is this purchase worth the stress it might cause later? Even when you do everything right, the margin for error is so thin that progress feels fragile. A car repair, a medical bill, a few slow weeks at work, any one of these can erase months of effort. That constant pressure changes how you think. You become cautious, risk-averse, and focused on short-term relief rather than long-term positioning. It's not a lack of discipline, it's a lack of breathing room. What makes $20,000 different isn't the number itself, it's what it represents. For the first time, you're no longer one problem away from starting over. You can absorb mistakes without panic. You can delay decisions instead of rushing into them. You can say no, not just to purchases, but to situations that cost you more than they give back. That's why people who cross this point often describe feeling calmer, even though their life looks the same on the surface. Same job, same apartment, same routine. But internally, something fundamental has shifted. You're no longer operating from fear. You're operating from control. This is where many people misunderstand financial advice. They assume the goal is lifestyle upgrades, better clothes, nicer vacations, a newer car. But the real upgrade is optionality, the ability to wait, the ability to choose, the ability to make decisions based on strategy instead of stress. At this stage, money becomes a buffer between you and chaos. And that buffer changes how you see opportunities. Instead of asking, "Can I afford to try this?" you start asking, "Is this worth trying?" That's a completely different question, and it leads to completely different outcomes. This is also why two people earning the same income can live in completely different realities. One is constantly on edge, while the other feels steady. The difference often isn't income, it's reserves. $20,000 doesn't make you wealthy, but it gives you leverage over time. It lets you step back and think in longer horizons. You can plan months ahead instead of weeks. You can absorb slow periods without panic. You can invest in things that don't pay off immediately, but compound quietly in the background. And compounding, not hustle, is where real progress begins. There's also an identity shift that happens here, and it's uncomfortable to talk about, but impossible to ignore. Before this point, many people secretly feel behind, even if they're doing fine on paper. They feel like they're pretending to be stable while hoping nothing goes wrong. After crossing it, that feeling fades. You stop feeling like you're constantly catching up. You start feeling like you're positioned. That confidence changes how you show up at work, how you negotiate, how you learn, and how you handle setbacks. You're less desperate for quick wins and more patient with slow growth. And patience is a financial advantage most people underestimate. What's interesting is that this threshold doesn't eliminate problems. Life still happens. Expenses still come up. Markets still fluctuate. But the emotional weight of those events changes. A setback becomes an inconvenience instead of a crisis. A delay becomes frustrating instead of devastating. That emotional stability is what allows better decisions to stack on top of each other. You're not smarter overnight. You're just less rushed. And being less rushed is often enough. This is why advice that works well for people above this threshold often fails for people below it. Telling someone to invest consistently or think long-term sounds reasonable, but it ignores the psychological tax of instability. When your financial foundation is shaky, long-term thinking feels like a luxury. Once that foundation exists, long-term thinking becomes natural. This isn't about mindset alone. It's about structure. You can't think strategically when you're constantly reacting. It also explains why some people seem to progress rapidly after a certain point while others stall for years. They didn't suddenly become more motivated. They crossed a line that changed how decisions compound. Each choice became slightly better, slightly calmer, slightly more aligned with the future they wanted. Over time, those small differences add up to visible momentum. From the outside, it looks like things clicked. From the inside, it feels like things finally stopped fighting back. This doesn't mean $20,000 is a finish line. It's not. It's a transition point. A shift from survival mode to stability mode. From reacting to planning. From urgency to intention. And that's why it matters so much, even though it's rarely talked about this way. People focus on income milestones because they're easy to measure. But psychological milestones are often more important and harder to notice until you pass them. What makes this especially relevant right now is that many people are working harder than ever and still feel stuck. They're earning more than they used to, but they don't feel more secure. Expenses rise, expectations rise, and the buffer never quite forms. That's why reaching this point feels so elusive, and why it's so powerful when it finally happens. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about creating enough space for progress to breathe. So if you're not there yet, this isn't a judgment. It's context. And if you are there, it's worth recognizing what actually changed. Not the number in your account, but the way you interact with the world because of it. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy time, patience, and optionality. And those quietly reshape everything. The real question isn't how fast you can get there. It's what you do differently once you do. Because that's where the real divergence begins. So what do you think changes first when money stops being an emergency and starts becoming a tool?